Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Chiropractic Student Podcast. I'm really excited for today. We have Dr. Jeremy Brook. You may know him online as the Spinechecker, or the Yoga of Chiropractic is what he does. All of his seminars, he's got a book out, he's got a few books out. He's helping the community in a big way. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you so much, Dr. Lewis. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you for everything that you're giving back to the community. The sheer fact that you're putting out resources already, you are one of my resources that I recommend to people. So the sheer fact that you're putting that out there to help people in the profession is really admirable. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
But can you tell us a little bit about your background in chiropractic, why you got started, how you got through uni, and what you're up to now, please?
Yeah, I mean, my chiropractic journey, without giving you the 3-hour long epic, origin story. I've wanted to be a chiropractor since I was 8 years old. I didn't have any issues that parents would take their kids to see a chiropractor for, like asthma, allergies, autoimmune, autism. Although I think I was a little wild growing up, so maybe the chiropractic helped me out on that energetic spectrum level, if you will. But my dad he was injured when he was about 26 years old, 27 years old. I was about a year. I was about 1 year old. He fell in love with chiropractic. So when I was about 8 years old, we went to the chiropractor as a family, and I fell in love with the profession. I was inspired by the chiropractor, Dr. Paul Weber. He's since retired, but he was like head honcho in the Motion Palpation Institute. I was always hearing him talk about Henri Gillet, so that just impregnated my mind with chiropractic. I love how he scanned the spine, motion palpated, and when he delivered an adjustment, you knew that you were getting adjusted. There was no question about it. So from the age of 8, I was like on a crash course with chiropractic. Now, it wasn't until I was in university, undergraduate, while playing rugby, and I in like a 5-minute span, I separated my shoulder, injured my neck, fractured my skull, broke my nose, not necessarily in that order. While with like one botched tackle and another really good one. But then, I was jacked up from that very specific event. I was about 21 years old at that point. That sent me down a path of pain medication. We had a physical therapist who sponsored our rugby team, so I saw the physical therapist. But after like a year and a half, minimal changes going on. I lost my physicality, my strength. I kind of was at the lowest point in my life, had a bad reaction one night to painkillers, found myself in the emergency room. They gave me a little cocktail of maybe some activated charcoal. I don't know exactly what it was, but vomited it one way and then, pooped it out the other way. Sorry for the graphic visual. Okay. But while I was in that hospital, I was like, man, I got to go see, Dr. Paul Weber. During the year and a half period where I was injured, I wasn't going to the chiropractor. I was just going to the PT. I love the PTs. I love their setup. They're taking care of a lot of athletes in Orange County. It's a part of Los Angeles where the California Angels, or Anaheim Angels, if you will, Los Angeles Rams back in the day, Olympic athletes. So I was loving it. I figured this, if these guys can't help me, no one else could. So, but these physical therapists, they didn't speak so highly of chiropractic. I was influenced by, and impressed by their position. So I kind of discredited the power of chiropractic because I never really had any major injury that chiropractic rescued me from. And long story short, went back to Dr. Weber, gave me an adjustment, Atlas T1 super combo. My shoulder that I was having massive problems with was, pretty much 80% sorted out after one adjustment. And then at that point, I was also planning to go to physical therapy school because I deviated my my intention in terms of like graduate school. Instead of going to chiropractic school, I wanted to go to PT school, physical therapy school, physiotherapy school, maybe for you guys.
Yeah.
And it was just a light bulb that went off. And I said to my dad, I said, yo, I'm not going to PT school. I'm going to go to chiropractic school. And then, then came the hunt for what school I would land at. And my Dr. Weber was like, hey, you need to go to a school that's got great philosophy, great technique. You should go to Palmer. This is, back in like 1996, around 1996. And so I say, hey, listen, I'm from Los Angeles. When it gets colder than 70 degrees, sorry, I can't convert that to, to Celsius for you. But I said, man, I don't think I can do winters in Iowa. So I checked out Life University in Georgia, which I thought was excellent. I checked out a school in Dallas, Parker, and then I checked out 2 chiropractic schools up in Northern California. And, I ended up back in California at Palmer West because they had a tremendous sports chiropractic program. I figured I'll get some sports chiropractic knowledge because that was what I was into at the time. And I thought they would be like a very comparable to Palmer with regards to the philosophy. And, it was a different program from a philosophical standpoint than I had originally expected. But if you want to get the philosophy, at a school like Palmer, where it's not necessarily spoon-fed to you, then those students who are attracted to principled chiropractic, to the philosophy of chiropractic, you end up getting it on your own, and you become thirsty and hungry for it. So I became obsessed with the words of BJ and even D. And there's some rich depth of information, philosophically, scientifically, biomechanically, energetically, physiologically, neurologically, coming from those guys. And then of course the legends who have followed after them, like Fred Barge and others. So that was pretty much how I kind of, crash coursed back onto my chiropractic train. And I guess circling back even just to that period where I was injured, I was boxing, playing rugby, is about as physical as a human could get at that time, with just, liking contact and getting hit and hitting people back. But I discovered yoga during that time period. So, I started doing yoga like a good year and a half before chiropractic school, and then yoga plus the yogic philosophy synchronizing with the chiropractic adjusting, the HVLA, the specific scientific high velocity, low amplitude thrust force, combined with the yoga asana, just kind of like changed the way I move through life. And that's ultimately the style of practice that I do here. It's like in the room, it's just straight up old school, clean chiropractic adjusting. And then you step out into our main movement area, and then we have different yogic movement sequences to accompany the adjustment. So my history, my origin, how I came into becoming a chiropractor is expressed daily in our offering to our people that come in to get adjusted and ultimately served. So yeah, that's that in a nutshell.
It's quite a, yeah, it's quite a journey you've been on. You like meandered through and found your way into molding to what you are now.
Well
It's really interesting because I read the part 1. I know you just released a part 2 earlier this year of your yoga chiropractic book.
It's not out yet.
It's not.
Part 2 is, man, I'm not gonna say I'm a perfectionist, but I'm a perfectionist, and it's not ready yet to be released.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's coming. It's coming.
Okay, I must have saw an advert for it of you saying that it was coming. It's gonna be on my wish list anyway. But I've read part 1, and my partner and I, we're very much into yoga. We do meditation, breathwork, yoga, these kind of things.
Cool.
And obviously I've only just graduated chiropractic school, and I'm just going into work now and trying to integrate everything. I do it personally, but then trying to integrate that into the office is a little bit difficult. How did you find integrating that wellness side and that yoga, expressing yourself into your clinic space?
Yeah, so for me, again, the two are 100% interrelated, interconnected. Spine, nervous system, life force, transmission of information. I mean, they go along great. So if I were to describe the synthesis of what we do and how we integrate it, you get adjusted, very specific, right? And then rather than just telling the patient, peace out, go home, we guide people through a very specific movement sequence. So if you're a yogi and you know what like a vinyasa is, a vinyasa pattern, a very specific sequence of poses in a prescribed manner, I've dissected different regions of the spine and body and created simple, intermediate, and complex movement patterns so that, after an adjustment, their nervous system is open. We feed the nervous system with movement, very specific, very calculated movements that honors the biomechanics, the joint lines, the planes, the facets, the disc angles, to make sure a person's able to move through, again, a full range of motion. It's also great to bring, blood flow and proprioception to that area, in addition to helping like that person break up some fibrotic adhesions in the tissue. So whereas in chiropractic, we've got like emerging methods that some have been around for at least 20 plus years, a little bit, maybe a little bit more, like in the corrective chiropractic camps, like the chiropractic biophysics technique, where they're utilizing traction protocols, or pedibond with the wobble chair. So, I've pieced together certain components from those universes that add onto the yogic movements that we teach. So basically, as you get adjusted, then it's necessary for you to move with intelligence to make sure that released energy gets deposited in the right places and the right concentration. So it's like a proprioceptive recalibration, if you will.
And do you recommend that everyone takes up yoga?
So, is yoga good for everybody? I mean, I think it is.
Well, movement is life, right?
Say that again.
Movement is life, right?
Movement is life. So we have like the classical, you're a Homo sapien movement sequence. And then depending on what a person's capabilities are, we'll add more movements to their programming. So we've got a highly choreographed programming that we share with the peeps, and most of the moves, many of the moves are on like one of the online offerings that we call the Wise Progressions, which comes from Krishnamacharya. He's like the grandfather of modern yoga. He was a phenomenal yogi, turn of the century, who basically was the teacher of Iyengar, the teacher of Pattabhi Jois, who founded Ashtanga. He was the grandfather of Desikachar, the founder of Vini Yoga. So, some of the more popular flavors of yoga. So like, yoga is good for everybody. Does everybody need to do all of these advanced postures? Not necessarily, but I think it's good to bend forward and bend back and twist left and right and side bend left and right and put a couple of those combinations together, as long as they have the prerequisites to movement and as long as their anatomy hasn't been disrupted, So, but that's part of the chiropractic adjustments. It's a force. It's a signal to cue the body towards a higher vibrational state of being. And I think that the yogic adjustment ultimately allows a person to stand, upright in Tadasana, in like Samasthiti, with their feet planted perfectly underneath their hips and their head stacked right over their sacrum. So the movement gives people a new relationship so they can move healthily through space and time.
Could anyone else have ever put that more eloquently? I don't think so. You said that so perfectly that I even had to sit up and reposture myself in the chair, because I was like, oh my word, I'm not sitting right. Like my posture is completely off. And what you say completely makes sense there. Like I don't really.
Right on. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, exactly. Like clip that, send it to everyone. Just that little bit. Awesome. So today's podcast, we try to focus on tips and advice from some of the top chiropractors worldwide. How did you get through university to become the influence and passion that you are today? What was that journey like? Because at one point you were just Jeremy, and no offense, you were never just Jeremy, but you were Jeremy, the average Joe. How did you get from Jeremy to this passionate flame of chiropractic and love and yoga and Spinechecker and everything that you do? What was that journey like? How did you get there?
Well, when I was in undergraduate, so if we're talking undergraduate and then we're going to talk chiropractic, is that what you mean by university?
Yeah. How did you get through? I think it's college over there. Yeah, whatever your studies. Yeah. How did you get through that? Where did you turn to for motivation and passion and become who you are?
Well, look, hopefully you're already self-motivated. Hopefully you're a bit on the slightly obsessed and possessed mindset to begin with. And I never really wanted to be anything more than just the best version of myself and the best chiropractor that I could be. And I was competitive in chiropractic school. A lot of my classmates would probably tell you that when people would come into my apartment, we had a table in the living room, and if the mailman came in, I'd be like, hey, do you want to get adjusted? Anybody would come in, I was face down. So I was always motivated, self-motivated. I would say that there's one person, there's a couple people in chiropractic school that really propelled me into another level. One, my first mentor, his name is Dr. Ron Oberstein, president of Life College of Chiropractic West. My chiropractor that I was working for in chiropractic school, her name is Dr. Mindy Pelz. She's a legend right now in the fasting universe. But back in the day, she was just subluxation based only. If you said anything but subluxation in her practice, wanted to talk nutrition, she'd knock you out.
I love it.
Yeah, but her mentor was Dr. Ron. So while I was in my end of my first year in chiropractic school, I met Dr. Ron. So I had, a future chiropractic president as a mentor through chiropractic school. And then my last year in school, man, as synchronicity happens, I had this situation where my neighbor who's about a year ahead of me in chiropractic school said he just was on an airplane and he sat next to this chiropractor, this bald-headed French chiropractor. And he goes, man, this guy, you need to meet him. Here's his business card that he gave me. So gives me the business card. Guy's name is Dr. Arno Burnier. Maybe you've heard of him.
Yeah.
And so then I take the business card. I'm like, okay, cool. And back then, the internet wasn't a massive thing yet. Again, it was like 1990. What is it, like 1998, 1999? 1999. So,
I was born in 96.
Yeah.
Does that make you feel old?
Man, I tell you what,
I'm sorry.
It's all good. I still think like I'm 27 years old, but
and you should do, rightly so.
So far everything's working, so it hasn't broken down yet.
Good.
But
anyway, 1999.
Back to this long-winded story. About to leave school, I asked my roommate. I said, "Hey, you want to catch a carpool ride together?" He says, "No, I'm gonna go to listen to this French chiropractor speak." And I said, "Oh, okay, sounds familiar." So I went to the room where Arno was speaking, and Arno presented chiropractic in a way that was different than I had previously heard, different from Dr. Ron Oberstein, different from anybody else. And he had a seminar coming up that weekend. Back in the day, it used to be called Making Love to the Spine. And I went to that seminar, and we thought from Palmer West that we were like adjusting, superstars for where we were at. And then, there weren't too many people from my school at Palmer West familiar with Arno's Making Love to the Spine, but over at Life West, there are a bunch of students who were. And I saw the discrepancy, like the disparity. I might have just made up a word there.
Love it.
Where like the students at Life West, where they were at with their repertoire of moves, adjusting moves, and where we were at. And I was like, I got a little fired up, so that come like another couple months when Arno returned, I was ready. And then he had a couple of these professional training camps called they're called Masterpiece seminars, week-long trip. So that basically shifted me out of like the sports chiropractic mindset, if you will, and helped, synergize that yoga plus chiropractic vision, and all about releasing the imprisoned impulse, optimizing the transmission of life force. And then, of course, I became immersed into that system, ended up teaching, being blessed and fortunate to be asked to teach the MLS system until I decided to go off on my own right at the beginning of the pandemic last year.
Some of the things you say there about the life force and channeling the energy, it resonates with me really well. I love the way that you talk about the body and the nervous system as a whole functioning system together with the energy and the life force. It just makes sense to me. And the wording that you use is so flowing and easy to you and methodical at the same time. I can see it because I can see you on video. Your brain is ticking and the words are just flowing out in such a particular way that it's great to hear you talk about it, because it gets me so pumped. And just, I don't think I could put it in words as easily as that. But you're saying that other people put it in words as easy as that for you to understand, that allowed you to have that understanding and be able to give that explanation of chiropractic and what your journey was like in the first place. So just by you saying that is going to influence other people to go on and be able to make their own explanation how you have, and dive into their own version of chiropractic, like how you have integrated yoga and created your own chiropractic, and how the lady you said, Mindy Pelz, how she has that fasting and subluxation. Everyone has their own version of chiropractic. As long as we're offering chiropractic, you have allowed someone to facilitate their own version of chiropractic by giving that speech. So
Yeah,
thank you for that. That's awesome. Like, I love the way that you talk. It's amazing. It's so inspirational and brilliant.
thank you. And I'll just add on to that. Don't be afraid to define the work that you do for yourself. And otherwise it might just be like a rigid, dogmatic regurgitation. And it may not like be truthful for you. Like what does the spine represent to you? What does the nervous system represent to you? What is your relationship with energy? What's your relationship with life force? Do you even have like a concept where there's a life force is in the thread of the conversation? And if it's not, like, again, chiropractic might be all about nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic, vagal, ventral, dorsal, vagal systems, whatever, however it is that you feel that you can elevate humanity. And again, I sometimes talk a little pain. I sometimes talk a little bit, some symptoms or bodily expressions, because it's a real experience. So some people don't want to talk about, pain or symptomatology. They'll talk about headaches. They'll talk about infertility. They'll talk about digestive concerns. They'll talk about asthma. But if you talk musculoskeletal and chiropractic and you're a principal doc, you almost get smashed for it. So again, like, at the end of the day, you got to be held accountable and responsible to yourself, to being true, to being in integrity to yourself, and of course, being respectful to this great and wild and wacky profession that we're all a part of.
I think what you said there, being respectful and truthful and having integrity to yourself and the profession, just sums that up. That's amazing. So picture this. There's a year one, year two undergrad Jeremy walks into your office right now, knocks on your door, and he goes, "Doc, have you got any advice or tips for me right now? I'm just starting uni, I'm just starting college. What would you, some golden nuggets, if you had to give him a couple of bits of advice, what would you say?"
All right. So number one, my chiropractor from high school, I've had a bunch of chiropractors from high school and growing up. But the main one, she said, her name's Dr. Shelley Roth. She's in Santa Monica. She told me while I was an undergraduate, 20 years old, she said, "You're going to chiropractic school, go to massage school. So you learn how to touch flesh, you know how to touch your body. So like you develop the intelligence of your hands, And when I went to massage school as a 20-year-old, let's just say my petrissage and my effleurage and it was not spectacular. It was like it just wasn't great. So after having been fortunate to work in other chiropractors' office doing massage, I ended up developing my hands. So the hands became more intelligent. So by the time I would hit chiropractic school, I had the muscular system dialed in. Another fun suggestion, also given to me by the same chiropractor. She said, get an anatomy coloring book. Now, for the most part, like arts and crafts was probably like my least favorite subject, even as like a little kid. Wasn't a big artist, colorer, if you will. But I I had like a box of colored pencils, and I got the anatomy coloring book, and colored it all in, and basically self-taught myself a lot of anatomy that maybe I hadn't learned at the time. I was also a biology major in undergraduate at college too, as that 20-year-old, 18 to 22-year-old. So granted, I was getting advanced information in the sciences, just taking that anatomy coloring book and just spending time and coloring it in. I felt that was fantastic. And let's see, what else? I think it's also was important at that time, for me, I was working in other chiropractic offices doing massage. Now, I don't offer massage in my space. I refer out, but maybe you can get lucky and maybe you can find a vitalistic chiropractic center that may offer massage, and you can see how the practice and the operations are running. Like by the time I graduated from chiropractic school, I had already worked in like, I don't know, a dozen different chiropractic offices. And I saw what I liked and I saw what I didn't like. And I saw how different docs ran it nice and clean. And I saw where other places were just a disaster. So, you're seeing how ultimately you're going to have to understand the relationship between being in the healing arts and also being a business person, like an entrepreneur. And if you're young in that game of recognizing, you're going to have to put on two hats and make sure both of those hats fit properly. Otherwise, you're going to run into trouble. At the end of the day, if your service hand, I like to have a big service hand. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I don't want to have a big business hand that overpowers the service hand. I think that's imbalanced. It needs to be in balance, but you have to recognize you're in the healing arts, and that service, that product, that offering needs to be exceptional. And when that's exceptional, your business will explode and be tremendously and wildly prosperous. But you better have good systems in place, otherwise, your business is doomed to fail, and then you're just a talented chiropractic artist who can't run a business. And that's not how I want to. That's not the legacy I'm planning to leave behind.
I like that you spoke about that your art needs to be exceptional. A big service hand, like at the end of the day, we are in the profession of giving. We are serving the community.
Yeah.
But like you say, there does need to be that aspect of business, which I'm just learning now coming out of university. I'm going to work in a clinic, and I currently work in a clinic. So I'm lucky I get to see I'm joining a business already. It's really weird. I resonate with you again. Like I think our vibration is like very similar, because I did massage through school. I had an anatomy coloring book. It's really interesting. It had like a really similar journey through. Yeah, check that one off. That's amazing. So I can say from experience, definitely do those bits of advice that you said, because my palpation skills and hands-on ability to feel the tone, the bridge between the body and the mind, having the ability to feel that tone and understand when a muscle is happy and when a muscle is not, and why that's happening, is so pinnacle to when you're becoming a chiropractor. And when you can easily run your hand down someone's back and be like, boom, 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 here, 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 it makes it such a more flowing, fluid experience for you and the patient. Oh, I love it. It's so good. I love talking chiropractic. It's amazing.
Same here.
Yeah, we could go on for hours. So I'm going to ask you one last thing. If you had to give one book to, let's say me, okay, I'm just joined the chiropractic profession, I've just graduated. If you had to tell me to read one book, and it can't be your book,
yeah,
although everyone should go and buy that book. If you had to tell me to go read one book that's just going to help me as a chiropractor as a whole, or as a person as a whole, what would you recommend?
I mean, you can't go wrong with the classical chiropractic textbook by Stevenson. I also love Palmer's Law of Life, 1958 book. So that was kind of like, that was out a little bit longer. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Stevenson's book was like written in 1927. I like Palmer's Law of Life. I might recommend that one. It's a nice, easy, it's a smaller book. It's not like the bigness of The Fellow Within or Upper Cervical Specific. So it's more digestible and might whet your appetite for chiropractic philosophy. I might say go for Palmer's Law of Life. It's like an easy gateway into the green books. But I mean, I got a handful. I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I've got 21 green books on the shelf behind me. So I don't know.
I'm going to come over and borrow a few.
Nah, it ain't no loaning library. You loan it out, you never get it back.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm just messing.
Amazing. So get that on your Christmas wish list, guys. Palmer's Law of Life and the chiropractic textbook by Stevenson.
Yeah.
I know these you can actually get as PDF versions online for free if you just Google them as well. So that's a real helpful top tip for students.
I'll throw this out there too. There's a it's not coming to me straight away. I think it's called dscbooks.com, Doctors of Straight Chiropractic books.com. It's an organization in LA. I think it's Delta Sigma Chi is the fraternity of that actually sells the green books, that resells them. So if you wanted to support the brothers and the sisters who are keeping this information going, do that. But of course, PDFs for free from Google always wins.
Yeah, for students, go PDF because they're free.
Yeah.
But if you're a doc, don't skimp out. You can afford it. Go buy these.
True. Very, very well said. Well said.
Awesome. Well, that pretty much wraps up today. Thank you so much for coming on the show. If people want to get in touch, how can they do so?
If you're on Instagram, you could say what's up on I'm Spinechecker. And if you wanted to check out the adjusting seminar that I do, it's called The Yoga of Chiropractic. And I've got a couple new offerings online at SpineCheckerUniversity.com. I just came up with this year, it's called The System, where basically I take the person, the student, the future doc or a current doc, take them through how I run all aspects of my practice. So spent a lot of time putting that sucker together this year. But yeah, Spinechecker University is the hub for all of my online offerings. But yeah, say what's up on Instagram. It's always a lot of fun to meet people around the world.
Amazing. I'm going to leave all those links in the description so anyone can use them at any time. I guess that's it. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you everyone for listening in. We'll see you next time. Thank you again, Jeremy.
Pleasure, and thank you.